This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. As most of you see what's going on in America right now, we're beginning to see some of this civil unrest unravel from the selection results that occurred on Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. We're seeing these protests going on around America where people are livid about Trump. Obviously, these protests were started, that people were bussed in to begin these in these certain cities. Okay, these weren't strategically started by some random people who said, let's run out in the street. And then, more and more people will follow if, 50 of us. They had hundreds of people bussed in and they started these protests. But what's scary about it is how many people organically joined these protests because they were egged on by seeing this. And that's how it works. That's how they use mind control to manipulate people. They send these people there, they start the protests, they get involved in the protests. People see the protests going on who are upset about the results. And then they run outside and they get involved and they start protesting and they put all their faith and all their passion behind these two political candidates who are both in their pocket, who are both bought and paid for. And I know Christians don't want to believe it. I still haven't heard the end of it about Christians who are just believing in this. It's scary how much passion. You see some of the stuff people are saying. I mean, whether telling me off or other people off or how angry they are and I'm unsubscribed. I mean, all this stuff over Donald Trump, they put all their faith in it. It would be amazing to see if Christians put that much passion into Jesus Christ, what could change around this world. If people actually cared that much about Jesus Christ compared to this man that they're just putting all their energy into thinking that he's going to save the day. Only Jesus Christ, like I said yesterday, is going to save the day. Only salvation is found through him. Nobody should be putting their trust in any man, including myself, anyone out there, only in Jesus Christ. And we're seeing, the results that came out. Women were crying. Men were crying too over the results of this fake election. It shows you how invested they are emotionally in something that's not real. It's frightening to me to see how dumbed down people are, that they're crying over stuff like this. But what's sad about it is because of a lot of the stuff InfoWars and other people are pushing out there, that a lot of Christians have bought into this and thinking that the New World Order has been stopped. I mentioned Brexit yesterday. I actually saw today that a lot of people have been comparing this to Brexit, which is good because everybody thought Brexit was going to happen and it was a defeat of the New World Order. I talked about how it was not and how it was part of their plan. We're still seeing things from Brexit unfold, but this is part of their plan. And now what they're doing is they're causing more division amongst Christians because we have Christians who are so passionate about Donald Trump and, they want to believe that he was God's chosen person. That's what we hear most about is that, this is the Trump prophecy, that God had selected Trump to stop what's going on around here. And like I've said many times, you're entitled to believe that. I do not believe it. And since this is my channel and I can give my opinion, I believe 100% that that is not accurate and that is not true. But what I wanted to talk about for a little bit was this, but the potential of what could happen before the inauguration or even after it, because a lot of you have been asking me about it. You've been asking me about the potential of a Donald Trump assassination. One of the first videos I did on this channel was talking about the possibility of that. I thought seeds were planted a long time ago for an assassination with him, whether it was people running up on stage or it was the ridiculous things that he was saying. I felt they were planting seeds as early as a year ago. And if you see some of these movies that they use predictive programming in, they've been planting seeds for a while for something like this to potentially happen. But let's start with the Illuminati playing card. Okay, I know a lot of you are aware of it. That's one of the reasons that a lot of people think that this is potentially or something that could potentially happen. Obviously, the card says at any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you. Have a nice day. We see the similarities on the face of the card to Donald Trump. It doesn't flat out show a depiction of Donald Trump, but it's very similar with this picture of him and obviously this card. A lot of people, I know the Illuminati card game. Obviously, a lot of people asked me to do a video series on it. I know a lot of people already have. Okay, there's a lot of things that they reveal in this card game that have happened. There's also some things that have not. Do I think there's a possibility of this occurring? Yeah, of course. But here are some of the things that make me skeptical to think that it is a possibility anymore. Starting with last night, how Trump assassination was trending on Twitter. It was trending. People were asking for this man to be assassinated and murdered. Now, I'm saying it from the standpoint of think of all these people out there who are asleep, who believe in Hillary or, believe in Trump and how passionate we see they are and obsessed they are over these two candidates, which is really embarrassing if you ask me. The emotion that people are putting behind these guys and caring this much and thinking that it's real. But they're looking at it from a real perspective and they're actually asking for this guy to get murdered. Okay, that's how sick this mind control is. They're asking him to be assassinated. So I'm saying it from that perspective. We look at it and we say, well, it probably wouldn't be real. It would be a false flag thing. They would set the whole thing up, probably send him to a bunker underground where he would live out the rest of his days because he's in on it. But look at it from the perspective of these people who think it's real. They actually want him dead. That's how passionate they are about what, this election and what we're seeing right now. That's sick. That's mind control working at its finest. But that also makes me a little bit hesitant. Now, I'm not saying that I don't think it's going to happen, because I felt all along that it was a very strong possibility that it could, and that's just my opinion. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, it could if it does happen before he's inaugurated, that Obama could stay. That's a possibility. It certainly is a possibility. But there's also the possibility that none of it happens and Trump does get in, as as we're seeing right now, right? If everything just happened tomorrow, Trump would be getting into office, and going forward, what would that mean? Well, we already see him, wanting to build the wall. Well, what does that do? Well, it causes massive racial division. It causes massive racial tension, which we already have, which they've already started with the Black Lives Matters movement. It would only make sense for him to continue it and make it worse, right? Because then the martial law plan comes into play and other things like that. But I wanted to talk about this movie, The Dead Zone. It came out in 1983. I'm not sure if any of you are old enough to see it. I mean, it's not extremely old, but Christopher Walken is in it, and Martin Sheen plays his character, Greg Stilson. The character, I felt for a very long time, was very similar to Donald Trump. And if you watch it now or you watch it in the last year, you probably saw it and it probably hit in the back of your head. Is this supposed to be Donald Trump? And in the film, he's running for, I believe, Senate, or he's running for a position in office. And he's portraying himself as a man's man, somebody who's there for the American people, a blue collar, hardworking businessman that's now getting into Congress. He's not one of them, kind of a thing. And Christopher Walken's character, when he touches someone or shakes their hand, he could see into the future. So when he shakes this guy's hand as this guy's campaigning, he sees that not only does he end up winning this election, that it leads to him eventually becoming president of the United States. And as president of the United States, he starts World War III. He sends this massive bomb, to start a massive war and kill millions of people because he's out of his mind and unstable and all this stuff. And he wants his legacy to be that. So Christopher Walken's character attempts to assassinate him in order to prevent this from happening and potentially save, the world from World War III. And when he goes to assassinate him, Greg Stilson, the character who's Trump-like, holds up a baby and shields himself from the bullet, holding up this baby. Okay, he doesn't end up assassinating him because of the fact that he held the baby up. People took pictures, and then his whole campaign got ruined because he shielded himself with a child, which is obviously one of the most cowardice things anyone could do. And that's how the movie kind of ends. He ends up living, but he lives, miserably, because I think he ends up even killing himself because he, didn't end up becoming president. But the point of the story is that there's many similarities between that character and Trump. And I know others have pointed out, whether it's Back to the Future 2 with Biff being very Trump-like and the predictive programming there, or other films where we've seen these presidential assassinations or assassination attempts with similar characters who seem very Trump-esque. So the predictive programming is there and the conditioning is there. But I'd be hesitant to say, and obviously it's just my opinion on this stuff, but I'd be hesitant to say if it would happen. Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. Could it happen after he's in office? Yeah, which means to keep your eye on Mike Pence. Could it happen before it? I suppose it could, but they're almost hinting at this possibly happening. It's almost like they're showing us or telling us, and I know that's how they operate, but sometimes they do that deliberately, right? And they lead us one way and take us the next. If the mainstream media is talking about this Trump assassination tweet, it makes me a little bit skeptical to think that it's still in play. Is it still in play? Yeah, anything's obviously in play. It's their game, and we'll see how they, control and manipulate. They almost have brainwashed everybody who isn't a supporter of Trump into wanting him dead at this point. But any way you look at what could go on next, Trump fits into the bill. And I probably should have seen this better beforehand, before the elections ended and all this stuff. Maybe I got caught up in Hillary being such a demon and a witch that I thought she was the hand-chosen one. Plus, having a female in office, I felt it was just part of their agenda and to push the gay agenda. But this actually causes, obviously, more division amongst America, right? It even causes division amongst Christians because, like I said, people are believing in the quote-unquote Trump prophecy that he's going to save the day. And you'll see now that he's in office, he's not going to do the things that he said. He'll put the wall up. He'll put the wall up because that's going to cause more problems for us. It's going to cause more, well, not me personally, but more problems for civil war and civil unrest. It's going to cause more anger. People are going to become angrier and angrier and angrier. So, yeah, I mean, it looks as signs are pointing towards something like that, but I wouldn't be surprised, again, if they pull the rug out from under us and they go, no. I mean, what we're doing here is we're just going to leave him in and let him continue to cause this civil unrest and start World War III because he fits the character build for somebody who would start World War III, for somebody who would usher in martial law, who would be on a power high, who would do ridiculous things. And, I know people are calling him a bigot and all this other stuff. This is all what they want. This is all part of their plan. So we'll see how it unfolds. Is it a possibility to answer the question that many have asked? Yeah. I mean, I talked about it in February. on this channel. I thought there were seeds planted with some of the attacks that were occurring on him and some of the ridiculous things early in his campaign that he was saying. It just didn't seem like it was possible for him to get to this point because it was so over the top and so ridiculous. But again, now what they can do with what's going on here is they could, if Trump hypothetically stays, on course here and nothing occurs before the inauguration, with him, potentially starting a war and potentially starting martial law and all that stuff, what they can do is they can point the finger at us. They can go, this was the guy that you thought was going to save the day. The American people voted for him. The blame goes on our shoulders. And I'm not saying me specifically. It goes on the American people's shoulders, the people who actually think that this is real and their vote counts. The blame will go on to them. And they'll say, we warned you about it. Not only did we, the media, warn you, the celebrities warned you. We all told you this was bad. We all told you it was going to happen. It was going to be a disaster for America. But you wanted him. You begged for him. And now this is what you get. That's the card that they're playing right now. So I wouldn't be surprised at this point either way with what they do. But why would they not still want him to get into office at this point? Why would that not be part of the plan? Because who takes the blame? They go, this was the guy who was going to stop the New World Order. This was the guy who was going to save the day, just like Brexit was supposed to save the day. And look what ends up happening. And all they can do is just go, we warned you, we told you, the media is not as bad as you make us out to be. We tried to help you and tried to tell you this stuff. And people will fall for it because they fall for everything that they hear from the mainstream media. And that's honestly what I think is going on right now. I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the divide amongst citizens. And again, I think plants are definitely in play here with these protests. But we're seeing people come out more and more that, organically to follow this stuff. I mean, I'm still getting, I don't want to say death threats. Some people have sent death threats. Or at least, to ask me to kill myself, which is I found pretty funny. It's pretty hardcore to feel that way about somebody who has a different opinion than you, and you have such a passion for a guy you don't even know. It's kind of sick, isn't it? And again, if these Christians out there would put their faith in Christ and this much love and energy into Jesus Christ, I can't imagine how much better of a world this would be or how much a difference we all could make. But instead, they still want to believe in these individuals, these false idols, these men. And these women, these politicians, these musicians, and they want to look for them for change and all this stuff. But again, that movie, The Dead Zone, if you haven't seen it, there's very eerie, the predictive programming that could be potentially in there, the seeds that were planted, because the characters are very similar. But again, with it trending on Twitter and stuff like that, I feel like it's almost like people are expecting this to happen. And if you're expecting it to happen, it's likely not to happen, right? I mean, that's the thing I missed on with Hillary winning the election. I mean, it was almost too obvious that she was going to win, and I missed the signals there. It's not a big deal. It's just my opinion. It doesn't change things one way or the other. They're both, in my opinion, they're both complete sellouts, so it wouldn't have mattered who they picked. It doesn't matter at all. I'm surprised as the way they went, but now looking at it over and over, it makes more sense because they were pushing more unity with Hillary, and they were saying, well, Trump supporters will go out and go crazy, and they'll do all this stuff. But now we're going to be pushing this race division and all this other stuff, and it's going to be easy for them to come back and spit it in the face of the American citizens because they're going to go, this is what you want. And now they're going to divide people even more because Republicans and Democrats are going to hate each other even more. And it's pathetic that people put themselves in these classes of Republican and Democrat, and they sit there and they argue as if their opinion, I mean, they just don't have a clue what's going on. Are you a Republican? Yeah, I'm a Republican. Who cares? Okay? I mean, really. Talk about a waste of breath and a waste of energy. But this is what they've created. They've created this. They've created these parties. This is part of the reason why. It's for division. And it's going to get more and more divided because nothing smooth is going to come out of this. This isn't going to end with a Trump with amazing presidency like people think. It's not. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. And listen, that's my opinion. But I'm sorry to break it to you, okay? This is going along with the plan that they want. Things are only going to get worse as far as the presidency goes. And does that mean World War III? No. Is it likely? It looks like something obviously could happen with a guy who's saying bomb ISIS, that they're pretty much opening the door for a false flag event in America by doing that, and then blaming it on Trump and blaming it on people who voted for Trump and saying, this is what you people wanted. Now we got attacked. Now we had another terrorist attack and stuff like that. That's what they want. So make sure you don't fall into the trap of being divided by this. Okay? Obviously, when you see some of these theories, the assassination and stuff like that, just take it, with a grain of salt. Obviously, keep your mind open to all the possibilities and realize that it's planned and it's staged, that if there was an assassination, that it wouldn't be some random guy doing it, okay? All these assassinations that occur, these guys are patsies. These guys are bought and paid for, okay? The majority of them are MK Ultra victims, and they're programmed to do it. So don't fall into the trap of thinking it was some Mexican guy or some black guy who was some ridiculous story who would go on and do it. And then that could pull your emotions away from being awake and seeing what's going on into going, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. It would be part of their stage plan if it did occur. But they're saying too much stuff about it. They're hinting too much. It's almost as if they want everyone to be talking about it. And yes, they do like to operate in plain sight and do that stuff, but they also like to completely mislead us and toy with us. And we saw that with the election, and we could see that going forward. So nothing would surprise me at this point. Do I still think it's in play? Of course it's in play, but it doesn't mean that it's in play before January. It could be in play, in 2 years. It could be in play in 3 years. Yes, we have the card, the Trump card, okay, where it's not fully depicted that it's him, but I know a lot of people have put one and one together, and that's fine. I can see the similarities as well. But I think what you'll continue to see going forward is this division that they're going to keep causing amongst citizens as far as, who supported Trump and who didn't support Trump. And then the blame game will not only go on, but the protests and those things will ensue, and the racial division will keep going on and on and on. And again, we're going to take the fall because that's what they want to do. Now they can point the finger at us, the people out there, or specifically the people who voted, but they'll say the American people are behind it. You're responsible for it. And they'll be laughing in their palatial palaces as they have their satanic Illuminati balls up there, and they do these ritual killings that nobody finds out about, and they sacrifice and molest children, which nobody finds out about. You know why? Because people are more passionate about Donald Trump, about him saving the day, and Hillary Clinton. They don't want to look into what they're really doing and what's going on. And it's a shame. If people put this much energy, if they put this much energy in Jesus Christ, we would be in a different situation in this world. And if people put this much energy into caring about these kids and caring about what they're really doing and revealing to everyone what's really going on, imagine how much good could be done, how many children's lives could be saved. But instead, people just want to fight with people who have different opinions than them, pro-Trump, pro-Hillary, as if it matters. It's a waste of time. Okay, don't get caught up in it. Stay grounded, stay in Scripture, realize that Jesus Christ is the truth and the only truth in this world, and the only way to our Father is through Jesus Christ. It's the only way to heaven, and you're not going to find your salvation in Donald Trump or any of these other politicians. And again, you can feel what you want, you can believe what you want, and even if you're somebody who is 100% pro-Trump and you think that he is chosen by God, I respect your opinion, you're allowed to, but don't get overly emotional about this. Don't get overly obsessed over this. Because that's what's going on. The Christians are getting overly obsessed with this Trump prophecy. And they honestly are feeling that, he's hand chosen from God. He's going to save the day. And there's people that are pushing this. We know who's pushing it. A lot of people are. So if you are one of these people who do believe it, I respect your opinion 100%, even though you apparently don't respect mine or anyone else's. But don't get so caught up in what's going on, okay? Take a step back and realize that Jesus Christ is the answer, not Donald Trump. I thank you for listening to today's show. I'll keep monitoring these situations. Again, I just wanted to show people out there, because you've been asking me about the assassination and the rumors of it, that it's starting to pick up steam and almost become mainstream. It makes me a little skeptical about it. I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, because again, I did talk about it back in February, thinking it was a possibility, but they're sprinkling that out in the mainstream. That makes me a little bit skeptical about it. And as we know, they do tell us things in plain sight, but they also lead us to the right and then hit us with the left. So we all should monitor it. We shouldn't jump to conclusions, but we should definitely be aware if something does happen, who's behind it and why they're behind it and what's going to come of it. Because they're behind all this stuff. They're controlling these things. All right? I thank you guys for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.